Good morning. It says we're starting, but the thing is scrolling, but it looks like we're already here. Are we already here? We are now live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're on. All right. Okay, Mike, I gotta go. Okay, Matthew, I'll be back. All right then. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Give me 1 second so I can go over to this other screen, this other fabulous screen. I had a terrifying moment this morning. I I turned on my computer and it had restarted itself, which is perfectly fine, except that all the settings that I'd put together last night for this morning were gone. So panic, panic, panic. There we are. There she is. Click this.
We're now
Shush.
live.
We're now live. Did you hear her? She just never stops. All right. Hang on a second. Action required. Yes. There. Click. Now then, everybody. Today is Thursday, depending on which Viking ship you prefer to row. And it is the 12th of May. And on the 15th of May, we're going to go and scare the living daylights out of Brockville, Ontario, Canada, because this show hasn't been there before. And I know that Lance has done an amazing job of telling everybody how much fun it's going to be. But you know, it never ceases to amaze me that you can tell people stuff all you like, and they go and they're not really with you. What they're doing is they're wondering if they'd actually put sugar or salt in the coffee because it tastes off, but they don't want to say anything. So, that's stage manager brain. Meantime, actor brain is going, and cave brain is saying, we're going to die. So, just in case you are wondering sometimes when people are going, but there's a little kind of a glaze in their eyes, that's what their three brains are probably doing. If it's not the coffee, it's something else. It's, you know, their pants don't fit, or there's something caught in their sock inside their shoe, and they're trying to be polite, they're trying to be with you, and they're not. And so this is part of the conversation I want to have today. I find that the universe is very coy and very sly at handing out things to talk about at the last minute. So, you know, my own stage manager brain is saying, I got 75,000 things I can talk about. Which one should I pick? And, you know, the universe is over there fluffing its hair and buffing its nails. And then, you know, part of it says, I guess we should put her out of her misery. And then they hand us the answer. Thanks, guys. So today, let me just scroll down to make sure that I'm seeing everybody. Good morning, Lussie. See what I didn't do? Good morning, Lyle. I'm going to click. They don't believe the awesomeness till they see it. Melissa, awesomeness is such a lovely word. And what we must try to do is when we realize that they have come face to face with the awesomeness, we need to step back because they're about to scream. Remember to bring your padded standing mat. Thank you, Garen. I have packed it. And the thing is, it's black. The floors are usually black, and it's 3/4 of an inch. So what are the odds that I'll trip on the edge of it? All of them. All of the odds. So you know what I found? Bright neon pink duct tape. People are going to say, what is all that? And it's going to be, that's the Abby trip zone. Yes, woohoo, it's going to be a blast. Melissa, it is going to be just the most fun there is. So what happened this morning and yesterday is how the universe was suggesting that I pay attention and think about what I'm going to talk about, because if it's happening to me, it's happening to everybody. So the first thing was I had a bit of a glitch in talking to some people about another show. And They seemed, at the beginning, like intelligent, keen, experienced professionals. And then all of a sudden, they weren't. All of a sudden, I would send a message to get confirmation on a couple of things that are fairly important. And good morning, Steve. How are you? And Steve, if you haven't noticed, if you're following the comments, he's just posted the little cup of coffee. So I'm gonna raise my little glass of juice to you, Steve, and take a sip. I have coffee later, because coffee and I, we have a fleeting relationship, and I don't want it to flee in the middle of doing this. All these clever people were suddenly not there. They weren't replying, they weren't responding. And if they were, the answers were flat, disconnected. So I did the verbal or the word printed version of hitting them upside the head with a brick. The listening brick. I said, if I don't hear from you by such and such a time, I'm not coming. And I would imagine that on the other end there was a mad flurry and scramble. And somebody said, yes, no, I'm here. No, we're here. So, and I hate doing that because I end up sounding like, this diva who thinks she's all that. And so when I did get a response, I said, people have commitments and they have requirements, they have responsibilities, and you can't just leave people hanging in the wind. You need to stay on top of it. Otherwise, they will make other arrangements. You're not the only ship in the harbor. And the reply that I got was honest and valued and irrelevant. The answer I got is that someone in one family had been terribly ill, and someone in the other family was in the midst of a life and death crisis. And I said, okay. And I said, I'm going to reply to you in a way that you're not going to expect. I said then to these people, it is my firm belief that if we survive past the age of 5, we have all experienced a traumatic event, a crisis of cataclysmic proportions. And somehow we have soldiered on through. What I'm saying to you is, thank you for the information. You should have led with it. Because if you don't tell people why you're running in circles, they just assume you think running in circles is the better thing to do. If you tell at the outset, we are dealing with this, then every single person on the planet is going to say, oh my God, absolutely. Well, let's see what we can do about this. You don't keep it to yourself and then use it as a reason for leaving people hanging. You don't get to do it both ways. You don't get to be the brave, silent, strong hero and then the victim, because the other person may be dealing with the same things. So you need to lead with who you are, where you are, and what's going on. Because I swear to you, every human on the planet has got stuff. Everyone. And usually when somebody is telling me the perfectly legitimate reason why they've left me hanging in the wind, I hit them with the hardest shot I have. And I make no apologies for it. I say that's terrible news. Remind me sometime to tell you about the time my parent committed suicide while I was on television. And there is a thundering silence. A thundering silence. They cannot compute what I've just said. Because I'm funny and I'm colorful and and by the way, did I survive it? Yes. Am I okay? Yes. Did I figure out what to do? Yeah. You know what the first thing I did was? I told the people in charge. First thing. Okay, I need to tell you this. I'm not stopping. We need to keep going. I understand why we need to keep going. This, however, has happened. So if I'm distracted, point to me, and I'll come back. Why? It's not because I'm a cold-hearted whatever it is. It's because people have lives, and people invest in us. They invest their faith, their trust, their commitment, their own long-term personal goals. They invest those in us. We owe it to them to keep them in the loop. Why? Because my story and your story are our story. We're all in the boat. It's all us. It's a fabric. One thread can't go off and do its thing and expect the rest of the fabric to be fine. We all depend on each other. We're all there for each other all the time. That's what our strategic brain is doing all the time. So that's what happened yesterday. This morning, I wake up to find that I don't know what to do with my tech. So in the midst of my tech, I get news from someone who said, my girl's got some health issues. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. They've been through a lot. And I said, is there anything you can do? Yeah, there's a program and we're going to take care of it. It's just I wanted you to know. Thank you. I appreciate that. Are you okay? Yes. Okay. So you know what happened? You know why that was so important for me to hear in the middle of this minor panic attack? Is that it calmed me down. It gave me the perspective I needed. That, you know what, if the glitch is the glitch, then I'll still go live and I'll say, so in this moment I'm having a bit of a glitch, so if I look even less competent than usual, there's a reason. It gave me perspective. 5 steps. Dum, 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 dum. And then I said, oh, look at that. I needed to do this. So I did it and ta-da. So I was in the middle of panicking. I wasn't thinking. Panic brain, cave brain isn't thinking. Cave brain is saying, this or die. Okay. Somebody comes along and says, breaking news, and right away, I have the ability to put it in context. You know, if somebody says there's a health issue, do you really think that a video on Facebook, if it were late for a couple of minutes, is earth-shattering? No. Everything we need to, prioritize and get real here. So those 2 things happening to me yesterday and today, I think were the universe saying, I need to talk about that. And I thought, what a good idea. Thank you, universe. Validation of others usually has a positive effect. It does, Garen. It really does. Garen has this great expression that I like. All that in a bag of chips. And I never remember to use it. I'm going to have to write it down. And I'll credit you. Garen. Which is another thing that is part of the conversation today, crediting people. Sometimes somebody will post something hysterical on social media. And I laugh, I go get a towel to wipe up the coffee, I spat all over my keyboard, I laugh, and then I type in the comment section, borrowing, which is the polite word for stealing without permission, just running off with it. And at least I'm letting them know. They can come over to my page and see what I did with it. And really now I'm saying, so I borrowed this from a friend of mine, you don't really think I'm this clever that I just thought of it myself and whipped up a meme because this is what we do. It becomes a conversation. It's not theft. It's not appropriation. It's not any of those, important words. It's sharing and creating a conversation that has layers to it. Layers. And we're all in those layers. So, Fame. Fame. Did I tell you I wrote a book called Fame? Did I tell you it's on Amazon? Am I pitching? No, I'm not pitching. So the reason I'm bringing up Fame, and I just flipped through the pages, and Doug came up. How cool is that, universe? So the reason Doug came up, aside from the flip, is because Doug lives in Brockville. So I reached out to him the other day and I said, "Hi, honey. So I didn't get your hugs and kisses and chocolates on Mother's Day. It's quite all right. I'm fine. I'm just sitting here in the dark. However, you have a chance to reclaim, your status among the chosen, because I'm going to be in Brockville on Sunday." And I was waiting for him to tell me, because he runs this wonderful business. It's called Revelation Martial Arts, and he's teaching small people how to own their space, and it's wonderful. Because Doug had to learn how to do that, and he saw the value in it and wants to spread along that wonderful value, which is amazing. So Doug said, Sunday's usually my day off, and I usually get out of town. And I said, well, you can stop at the convention center on the way. You can stop by and see your mother. And we weren't talking, we were typing, but I swear to you, I could hear his eye roll. I could hear it. Because two things, now he has to figure out how to fit that into his day and all the other people. And the other is, what it's going to cost him if he doesn't. Like, there's no happy ending for him. And now I've just talked about it on social media. So what you all need to do when the video is over is reach out to Doug Ptolemy. He's called Douglas Ptolemy on Facebook, and say, "Gee, you're going to be at FanaticCon on Sunday." Because we're all in this together, Doug. Anyway, the reason I picked up fame wasn't merely to ruin Doug's life. Again, it was to explain something really cool. When I interviewed all these beautiful people, many of them my kids, some of them my protege kids from this fabulous performing arts school, some of them from You Can't Do That on Television, others that I had worked with in other projects, and then a lot of my colleagues, my grown-up colleagues. All actors are children, so innately children, but taller, and they've been around longer. And one of the things that I did when I wrote the book was I asked them to tell me their individual, unique, personal definitions of fame. Looking, for the kids, most of them looking back now, because they no longer do that for a living. But even if they are still in the business, they have a different perspective. When you're 10, you see things one way, and when you're 30 or 40, you see it totally differently. So I asked everybody to tell me what they believed fame was. And what really surprised me was that I asked 20-something people in the book, and I got 20-something completely different answers. And the first and second and so on time that I realized they were coming back to me with a totally different angle on the same conversation, I thought, that's a very interesting thing to recognize. That we can all understand essentially an idea. We can all recognize that when the sun is out, it's brighter than when it's not out. What we perceive is our different personal observation of it, our relative scoring of how bright it is. And it's knowing those things, it's knowing those individual perceptions that not only makes us smarter, but it makes us able to understand what people are saying. Just because we all speak one particular official language doesn't mean we all have the same personal definitions for a word that everybody uses in a popular way. I can say happy and mean one thing, and you can mean something totally else. I can say clever, I can say chocolate, I can say any word, and we all have these varying definitions. If we want to understand each other and we want to have this story, this fabulous layered story that we're all part of, we need to know what each other's meaning, right? We need to know what we're saying. So what I found really interesting in grappling with constructing the beginnings of the Pivotry books is that I'm defining what I've been talking about for the last few weeks. I'm defining in print, in small paragraphs. So it's like a bite-sized chunk of information that you can read. There's a nice white space below it and above it, so you can read it and go, okay, and then go to the next. Read that and say, so then this and that. Oh, okay, all right. And then gradually, step by step, down the path to where we get to talk about what it all means now that we know what the words stand for. So I had skipped something, and I hadn't realized it until I was having my conversation this morning. And this friend of mine used a word, and he used it in exactly the way I use it. And then he said, it's a good thing I don't have to explain that to anybody. You're better at explaining things than I am. And I stared at it and I thought, oh my God, because this was just messaging. And I thought, oh my God, I'd forgotten that. So I quickly wrote it down, thanked him, and he went on with his day, and I'm here. And I went back very quickly before we started, and I took a look at the spot exactly where that needs to go. And sure enough, I had assumed that I had said it because I've been talking about it for weeks, nonstop. So here's the thing, very, very interesting. When we're at the beginning of a path, the path is ahead of us, and we only know a certain amount of stuff. Right? Right. Okay. Walk down the path, and we see things, and we learn things. Imagine we have a bag. It's our brain, and it's totally empty. But as we walk, we learn things, and we put these things in the bag. And as we add new information, every next filtered decision factors in that new thing. We can't help it. So by the time you get, 200 yards down the path, we are using information to make decisions and take the next steps that we didn't have at the beginning of the path. We are not the same as we were back then. We're here now, and we're different. Why? Well, because we know different stuff. Here's the thing. The people we're talking to, maybe for the first time, imagine my friend going to work today and saying, so I was talking to Abby, and, today I decided to use strategic brain. And the person they're talking to says, no idea what he's saying, because they weren't there at the beginning, and they were sick that day. Missed it completely. Now, if my friend doesn't recognize that, and he keeps going on and on, the person saying, yeah, okay, so listen, gotta go, coffee's getting cold, he won't see that two paths diverged in a yellow wood. and I think we all do that. We all forget that you weren't with me back there when that pointy thing fell on my foot. So if you weren't with me back there, and I don't tell you, then it makes no sense that you're walking funny. And it makes no sense that I have to compensate for you. So we're back at this story about these people of yesterday. If you don't let us know, hey, good morning, Jesse. If you don't tell people and let them know that suddenly stuff, and you're going to need a minute. If you say, I just had some sudden stuff, I'm going to need a minute, everybody gets it. You don't have to tell us. And then it was blue and it fell off, and then something green grew in its place. You don't need to, please, you don't need to tell us that stuff. All you need to say is, suddenly, stuff, I'm going to need a minute. And everyone, I just said it, I'm going to say it for the third time, everyone is going to get it. They're going to say, oh yeah? Got it, gotcha. Let us know when you're back in stride. Everyone understands, because everyone has had, suddenly, stuff. Good, bad, ugly, painful, happy, exciting, all of us. Now I know that means that you're not unique. And I know that that's a disappointment. I know that in the moment, in the crisis, when stuff is large and sudden, it blocks the sun. It's the biggest thing in our world. We honor it. We are in fight, flight, freeze, hide, rage, frustrate, full on. We don't really want someone to say, there, have a cookie. We want to finish screaming because that's what we need. If you say suddenly, stuff, I'm going to need a minute, we are giving you that permission to scream. We're over here, we still have to keep going because we have people counting on us. But we recognize and we honor you. We just have to honor you from over here. So I know that's a weird, complicated, convoluted thing I'm telling you. And you know, Mom is supposed to be much more... No, she's not. Mom's an idiot. Abby is supposed to be much more. But in actual fact, Abby also, you know, has those elements of idiot. So the first thing is we all are on a path. We all have intentions. We all have a story. And we all need to remember that we're not on the path alone. We're not an island. We're not a hermit. We're on the path together. It's really funny to me when I give explanations, whether at work or at play. Garen says, crisis or not, explanation usually gives me enough time to react and think. Yes, Garen, yes. The helpful people who aren't helpful, who say things like just say no, also say, well, take a step back. And that doesn't help because pants on fire. So the better choice to say is strategic brain needs to get the big picture. If somebody says, oh, what the hell is a strategic brain? Stage manager brain. The guy running the show needs a minute. The girl running the show needs a minute. Stage manager brain. Use that word. Everybody knows what a stage manager is, even if they're not in show business. What you really need to be able to do, this is a very cool thing. And there's something odd. There's something always odd with my hair every day. It's just sometimes when I'm looking, I look away from the camera. Never look away from the camera, Abby. When I, Roger, never look at the camera, Abby. Fine. Camera, you, over here. Every time we are faced with something we didn't expect, it's a disruptive influence, and it steals our focus. Every time we want to steal focus, all we need to do is disrupt the flow. Every time somebody tries to keep going in the middle of battling a disruption, delivers less than their best. These are true things. Really true things. When you say, I got to get back for the wide angle view. I got to see this. Or as Garen said, I need to explain something, or explain this to me. It gives his brain time to say, so 4 and 3, 11, 7, right? It gives us time to process. Process, prioritize, and respond. Because, by the way, we do think on a dime and give 9 cents change. We still have to process that single penny. So, I had that happen to me yesterday. I had it happen to me today. And I said to myself, there is the conversation that everyone needs to hear. Part of this conversation that everyone needs to hear is this. Life is not a spectator sport. We are not spectators. We are not passive creatures eating cheese doodles and watching the parade go by. We never were. We're not wired that way. We are wired to engage. We are wired to join the parade. Maybe muscle in at the front and get good advantage. Wave to the crowd. We are tribal. A tribe is not a bunch of people doing it and a bunch of people over in the stands with pom-poms going, go tribe, go tribe. That's not how it works. We're all in it. If I have a Viking boat and I have 20 spaces and I have 20 oars, if I'm at the front of the boat, I'm not spectating. I'm navigating and I'm guiding and instructing and directing and leaning and hauling on ropes. And all the other people, you know what they're doing? If somebody's there sitting back, kicking back with their feet up on somebody else's plank, watching it go by and saying, wow, nice day, nice day. It's too bad we couldn't stop for a little while. And presumably all other 19 rowers would turn and say, what is wrong with you? You think this is a cruise? What? Okay. That's the wrong person to have in the boat. They want to be a spectator. They want it done for them. And they want that to happen that way. So they get to say, well, the food's cold and I'm getting a draft. Really? Too bad. Shift in your seat. Pull up your sweater. Eat it sooner. Engage. These are things we all used to do pretty much automatically, except for the few in the group that wanted to be carried from wherever they were to wherever they were going. Fewer and fewer of us are doing it as well as we used to do because, well, we're out of practice and we're scared and exhausted. Yeah, out of practice, scared, and exhausted. I think that probably covers it. And if we're distracted by out of practice, scared, and exhausted, we're not paying attention. We're there but not there. We're saying, oh yeah, no, great, yeah. We can't all say, I'm having a difficult time because of this. All we need to say is, I'm going to need a moment. Okay. Fair enough. We also are able to say, we got to keep going. So is there some way that you can carry along with us while you're working your moment? Because we got to keep going. The wind has shifted, the tide is turning. We got to go. These are all conversations we need to have with each other. Because just having them inside our own heads doesn't keep us connected. It doesn't keep us on the same page. It doesn't keep us facing the same way. Garen was not only a Viking in a previous life. If they aren't needed, toss them overboard. Garen in charge of ballast. Giving new meaning to dead weight. See, this is the conversation. These are the colorful threads weaving into the story that I'm telling. Now, the reason I'm telling it this way today, aside from the fact that the universe was, bonking me on the head with the information, is that a story, people say, I wouldn't know how to even start to write a book. And the answer is, a book is just a bunch of very small stories woven together by a thread. So we have a billion stories, each and every one of us. We just pick the ones that we can thread easily, that make sense. If we're talking about mathematical equations as a story, and someone says, do you have any questions? Is there anything else we need to add? The answer probably isn't, I'm looking for a good name for my new pet hamster. Although it makes for an interesting aside. Can you imagine? They say that, and all the heads go, and then look back. The story we are is the story we're living. The story we are is what we're bringing to the table. Even as Garen says, his things, I'm not a complete jerk. Of course you're not. Ruthless Viking, complete jerk. Fortunately, Garen, there's middle ground with all kinds of options in between. What we are doing, you and I, together, is we are creating a story. It's one of the reasons I'm saying comment when you're watching. Don't just sit there sipping your coffee and eating cheese doodles. Patisserie, something, ham sandwich. Don't just sit there watching me. Comment. And if you can't comment while because you don't want to miss anything, great, but comment later. Why? Because you're part of the story. You're contributing. Do you know at the end of, when I was shutting down last night, I checked to see how many people on Facebook had watched Tuesday's video. And as of, I guess it was about 9 o'clock last night, I had 150 people. I didn't get 150 comments. I got 150 views. So I knew that people were checking in on their own time when they could. They may have only watched for a few minutes and said, why do I keep doing that? Click. Or not. They may have watched all the way through. But 150 people became part of the story. How did that happen? Because I'm telling you now. And we can't untell that. 150 people. That's amazing. It's a good story. It's a big story. It's us. It's our lives intersecting and reflecting on what we hear and what we see each other comment and say and do. And if you have time when you're looking and you check to see who's viewing and you think, oh, look, so-and-so's there. I've been meaning to reach out to them, and maybe you have a private conversation. That's a trigger moment. Stories create trigger moments. When I was in Cornwall at Cape on the 23rd and 24th of April, we generated a lot of trigger moments that people didn't expect. Fine, Garen. I'll leave it to all of you to read what he said. What we have permission to do when we enter a space, when we're invited into the space, or we charge blindly into the space with our lance extended and our shield raised, is join the conversation, is add to the story, is become a color commentator. Ooh, that was a near miss. Yes, you know, statistically, he has near misses 73 times out of 102. Shut up. We have this amazing opportunity to be part of this. This is not spending money to buy into a program that broadcasts previously made, previously seen content that we actually sit and stare at while we eat our cheese doodles. This is real. This is as alive as it gets, and you are part of it. You are shaping the story. You are shaping the sudden surprises, and you are shaping the direction the story is taking. You're in the boat. Is that awesome? I think it's amazing. And I'm going to tell you how long that persists. So the Fame book which I published in 2017. Took about a year to write. It usually takes at least a year to get from idea in head to a really good solid first draft on the printed page that you can read and sob brokenly at because it's not what you thought you were going to do. So it took me about a year to gather all the information. So let's say I really started in about 2015. Okay, 2 years later, it's a book. 2022, it's still a book, and it's still available on Amazon. It's still a book, and the comments that my lovely people made about their definitions of fame are still alive and well, and I'm still using them today. I'm including one of them in the comments at the very beginning. I'm including 2 more because they rose up and presented themselves to me out of the memory bank that I have, that this is the perfect thing to say to start a chapter. Because what they said in that moment, back in that day, was so profoundly real and true and fascinating that it's still good today. How awesome is that? Imagine, I'm a virtual mom, obviously. Imagine, I'm a vicarious mom. Oh dear. The pride I have and the fun it is to be able to quote my kids, to quote my fellow fame travelers, and then let them know after the fact. By the way, I've written a new book, you're in it. What? I am? Did we use a picture? Imagine when I get to do that. You know what that's like? That's like knowing you have this great joke that you tell well and it always makes people laugh. Knowing that you're going to tell it in 10 minutes. The 9 minutes leading up to the telling are the best anticipation. Oh my God, because you know you're about to gift people something incredible. Same thing with this. Same thing with this conversation. The more that you say to me, the more that we interact in different ways on different platforms, the more we cross-platform connect with each other. And I reach out to someone else and say, does so-and-so always do that to you? And they say, oh my God, all the time. It's our fabric, it's our tapestry, it's our story, it's our collected, connected life. I firmly believe that when people used to say there's no such thing as a free lunch, what they were saying in a positive perspective is that you're the floor show. We're the floor show. When it's lunch and you're swimming with sharks, we may be more than the floor show. But if we're the sharks and someone's swimming with us, see, there's always a floor show. We're all part of it. Join me for lunch. There's a great story that just popped into my head because of that. There's a favorite spot in Ottawa. I love the people who own it. I love the people who run it. I love the food they make. I love what they've done with the place. And I go there as often as I can. And I was sitting in the little cozy, the bar, having lunch one day. And somebody came in and sat down and said, well, I haven't seen you in a while. There's an old face. And I said, no, there's a fondly remembered face. And, oh, geez, here we go. And then this person said, are you doing shows anymore? And I said, pardon? And then this person said, yeah, I always loved watching you doing shows. And the bartender came over and put something down and said to this person, and what exactly do you think this is? You're late, you're in your seat, shut up, read the program. When we show up and we don't engage, we're the boring part of the program. We're the part of the program everybody says, I wonder when intermission is. If you choose to be a spectator on a busy working boat, nobody's happy you came. Everyone, like Garen, is wondering what the hell we can do with you. Good morning, Paul. Thank you. Everyone's wondering why you got in the boat in the first place. And if the answer is everybody's got to be someplace, that's the wrong answer. However, it becomes part of the story. So, convoluted today, a little bit all over the map today. And as I said at the beginning, tech issues, surprise issues, and, you know, life in general can happen to all of us. The point I always try to make is, no matter what, we can always find ways to bring some version of our best game, no matter what. Even if what we bring is an unexpected, truthful moment that shifts the story, that shifts the plot and the action, as long as we're bringing it, as long as we're here, as long as we want to be part of this incredible tribe, we're bringing value added to the conversation. As long as we want to be here. As Chad Hiltz, the car guy, says, you got to have the will and the want. You have to have the ability and the determination. You don't have to be desperate. You just have to want it. So, weird, kind of stuck together video today. But there's weird, kind of stuck together bits and pieces going on right now. Correct? So here's what my thinking is. Panic? No, not panic. We need to look at every single thing that comes at us as having more than one reason for being there. Nothing is one-dimensional. Even if the earth were flat. You know what? There's an underneath side. So there's a top and a bottom. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine all the people hanging on for dear life on the bottom? When does it flip? When does it flip? Even if the earth were flat, there's two sides. There's always something to take away. There's always something to derive. There is always something that we can look at and say, oh my God, I needed that. I needed that, and I don't think there was another way I was going to get that unless I went through this. So good and bad mixed. How interesting is that? So, outcome, concept, summary. Life can always be better. We can always be better. We can do better. We can lose that 7 pounds by Friday faster. Not starting today, just letting you know. But we can if it matters. If it matters. We can look at something depressing. We can say there's nothing on television. Well, then turn it off. I don't like this show. Change the channel. Its food tastes terrible. Is there nothing else in the fridge? As my father used to say, when I would say, I don't, he would say, what did your last maid die of? I see, I'll go get stuff. Everything we see and find ourselves unhappy with. Look, it's the phone. How do I even... Hello and goodbye. There we go. See? Caused the utmost damned astonishment right there. Everything that happens to us, we can resolve. All we have to do is want to. We don't get to resolve it immediately. They'll probably call back. But we get to resolve it. It's ours to own. My decision to focus on pivotry in motion instead of the other show that was going to be my flagship is based on the fact that people are struggling. People are struggling in a way that I've never seen before. And you've seen it too. You have seen it too. So we can stand there and say, oh gosh, sucks to be them, except that they're us and we're them. So we need to do something about it. We need to say we're hurting. We need to say we're lost. We need to say suddenly stuff so that people can say, oh my God, why didn't you say something here? What can I do? Because whatever it is somebody else might have been doing might not have been a priority. They might have just been cheese doodling through television. They didn't know you needed them. There is no shame in saying, got a problem, pants on fire over here. And somebody will say, I have a bucket. It's filled with water. Watch this. We can do that as long as we know there is something that needs to be done. We may not do a great job, but we can do something. So, pivotry in motion is you giving me this incredibly rich content that is allowing me to write about something that is our superpower, unquestionably our superpower, and reminding people that it's not their fault that they didn't even know it existed, because it's all back in here. If we open the doors and bring it to the front and say, see how you do this, how you've always done this? Is that awesome or what? And people say, oh, right away, everything is just a little bit better. That changes everything. Shoulders go back. A little deeper breath. Gee, I didn't even, gosh. Disruptive action, taking you away from the panic. Looking at, possibility. How amazing is that? Possibility. That's who we are. That's what we represent. Pivotry in motion is how we make it happen. So that's why Story Me TV and all these other shows and all my other ideas and all the stuff I'm doing wanders in and out, and I stop and I ask you questions and I tell you my stories to illustrate the crazy loony things I've done, either deliberately or by accident, to give you a trigger that makes you remember something equally ridiculous that you can share with me. I changed the names to protect the innocent and the guilty, and it goes in the book. And suddenly, we have the most beautiful, rich, colorful, fabulous tapestry. The whole world's going to be jealous, which means we'll write another one. Okay, my lovelies? So, it's Thursday. Saturday, I'm getting in the car and I'm driving to Brockville so that on Sunday I can cause the utmost damned astonishment. 7 pounds is a heavy hamster. Garen, you're producing gold today. You really are. 7 pounds is a It's an animated series, Garen. It's called My 7 Pound Life, and it's a story about hamsters trying to lose weight. You see what happens when you give me ideas? Oh dear. Sunday I'm going to cause the utmost damned astonishment. And with every great intention, give people a reason to decide they're glad they came. That's the goal. That's the goal. So, between now and the next time we talk, which will be on Tuesday, think fondly of Brockville. If you know anybody who lives there, you could either warn them or ask them if they've got a spare bed for the night and come and surprise me on Sunday. And then think about what I've said today. I'm hoping you think about things that I say every video, but think about what I've said today. Stuff happens. Stuff really does happen, and it's not always nice. It's not always pleasant. And when we get through it, we deserve to put our feet up on the anti-fatigue mats. We deserve to have our beverage of choice. We deserve to have a pat on the back, a massage, a manicure, pedicure, whatever it is that floats our boat. When we give our best, we deserve a modest round of applause. So, as you go forth and terrorize, remember this. Every single thing that happens is part of the story. If it sucks, fine. We'll figure out a way to get even later. Meantime, lean in. Use your magic. Use your 3 brains. Aim for the win. Okay? Do that. And then tell me all about it. All right. Until then, you know the drill. Be good to you. You're the best part of these days for me. And don't forget to hug your loved ones.